Snooker Canada's page.
Where did you see that? Here?
They were.
Oh, that's a nice image.
Alright, all the other matches are going. That guy might be late.
Yep. I'll get these guys going.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, Lance. And good morning, everyone. We're glad that you're tuning in today. I've got a great friend in the booth with me, Mr. David Putty. Are you out there, David? Glad that I think everyone's doing great. They're excited about the BC Open kicking off today, day one. We've got a great matchup to get us started. It's Blair Major against Denis Lysenko, and Dalton Roy will be refereeing with Duncan Banks keeping score. We're live here on Snooker Canada's YouTube page. Feel free to write any comments, questions, and let us know where you're tuning in from. And glad to have David Putty, a great analyst, in the booth to see how this match happens. This one's kind of tough to tell, I must admit. Blair's always been a great competitor in these events, gone deep. This is Denis' first BC Open, but he was part of the team champion, BC Team Championship that we had a couple weeks ago. So I think it's who's going to capitalize on the mistakes. That's who's, I think, going to form here, and who's going to really get in the balls and score heavily. That's going to provide us with the winner. I definitely think it's possible, but these Rasson tables are pretty tricky. The pockets are quite tight. They've just been newly installed here at Top 147. That's where we're having the tournament, the majority of the tournament, as well as we're at the Star Snooker Club, and which is about maybe less than a 5-minute drive away. Eric Lee runs that club, so he does have some matches streamed on the Star Snooker Club Facebook page. You can take a look over there. I know that Charlie Brown and Namawan are on the TV table, but I'm not sure if he is streaming that. So, yeah, lots of good action. Glad that we had two clubs working this tournament, because it would have been pretty tough with an impressive 48-player field. We have 52 players in the tournament, as I held 4 qualifying events in the autumn and into the winter, and the winners of those booked their spot into the knockout phase. So we're just in the infancy of this tournament, and there's 12 groups of 4, and the winner of each group will move on. So it's pretty cutthroat, but hey, if you want to hoist that trophy on Sunday evening, you got to do the business. Yeah, everyone's a little nervy, obviously. The first match of the day, first one of the tournament. You want to step start off on the right foot. But I'm starting to believe that some of these more players, maybe be a tad on the aggressive, maybe early on, maybe just feel out and see how your opponent is. Because I think as we talk about those high breaks, they're pretty challenging to get from time to time. So sometimes you have to put the pressure on your opponent to put together 10 pots in a row. It's no easy task. Yes, Blair done in the Johnny Cash, pretty much the all black, or maybe he's got a tinge of gray in his shirt, and Dennis with the more traditional wear of the black and white. I do. Yes, he might be wearing those little ankle socks, which is completely warrant. And as well, everyone that's tuning in, if you want to check out up-to-date scoring, you can check out the challenge sites. That's www.challenge.com/2024. So 2024 BC Open Group Stage. And with that, Dennis might have faltered and opened the door for Blair. Sensational long pot there by Dennis. That's a statement shot. On foul on this situation, there are 4 attempts, 3 putbacks, and as well, if there's more than 3 snookers required for a win, it is a concession. And all these players should be aware of all the rules as they signed up on Great Pool Starts Here, a great website run by Wendy Brown. And there's a thing there that players must click to say they've read and understood the rules and regulations. So put some onus on them and not us tournament organizers. And our good friends at Puff Pipes and Street Hawker have donated some prizes for the high break prize. So players are going to be challenging for that. And as well, Bernie's Best is in the house. The first player to make a century will get $100 from my pocketbook. Yeah, he didn't sacrifice too many penalty points on that. But yes, I'm almost reminded and tell the viewers a lot of our good friend Charlie Brown when we were back in Montreal at the 2016 Richler Cup at Stefan's Club, Club 147, I believe it is. That everyone's in the room, and then all of a sudden Charlie Brown got up off a shot and just walked back to his chair, and everyone was dumbfounded, not realizing that just a fiber of his shirt had touched the ball and cost him a foul. So Yeah, it's kind of like in golf, you know, if you mark a birdie instead of a bogey, you're just kind of cheating yourself and it just doesn't sit well with you. And the rumors can circulate in snooker. They might you might find out that oh, I don't want to play that guy. He's always not calling fouls on himself. Yeah, the one problem is that black's pretty tied up, and pink's no fun either. So it's not the greatest table to start off the championship here. Dennis just waiting for John Robertson to take his shot on the adjacent table. And a good morning to Air Rifle Pestings. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, we're hoping to get this sport back on the main stage. It is, with the years go by, it is increasingly growing in popularity as this tournament had an impressive 52 players in the field. I heard that the Canadian National Championship that's going to be going on in Quebec in May, their seniors event is capped at 48, and the Open Championships at 64, and they have waiting lists, or those events are sold out and they have waiting lists. So good to see for the game of snooker. And there's some support for Blair, Lee Smith. Pretty much Blair's got probably all of northern BC behind him as he comes from Prince George. And Blair's just waiting for 2 years ago, last year's, or 2 years ago, semifinal CCU, just on the adjacent table. But CC's feeling a little happiness that Max Guan isn't in this championship. I guess work commitments for Max made it unavailable for him to play. doesn't say 2024 BC Open for some reason. Just want to mute myself. This thing right here. It's green. It doesn't say the 2024 BC Open Snooker Championship.
It doesn't. It's got the ball count. Once the match starts, that goes away.
What?
In the way of most of those shots. I can't hear Putty. So again, he's probably looking at a containment.
Is he muted?
No, that's the other one.
That's me.
That's the computer. There's the black ball in the way. Can you hear Putty?
I can hear Buddy, yeah. And you can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Now we'll get an opportunity to see Dennis's great building. Is he talking?
No,
Abilities.
now he is.
But this is a really good opportunity for him to come in and make some balls. Let's go ahead and continue for a bit here.
That's just on the issue there, like, just another note.
That's normal.
Yes, David, I completely agree. Most of the time, our country is so ginormous that, for our national events, a lot of the time it would be out east in Toronto for numerous years. And not a lot of people could afford the travel and going out. There's only a few select few, and events weren't as sponsors as they were to get players, the necessary funds to make it to those championships. But now we're seeing a lot more provincial championships and even regional, like Western and Eastern and Central Canadian championships. So we are definitely making a step in the right direction. It is a game that's played in over 100 countries, so good save there, David. I thought we had drafted in your contract that you're not allowed to talk about that pool game when we've got snooker going on, but very nicely saved that, yes, all Q sports, we're happy to see everyone picking up the cue wherever they come from. And yes, it's a great game for the youngsters to get in with. It really teaches them gamesmanship and respect. You have a match at a certain time, you need to be there. this is looking like maybe the opportunity for Dennis to score heavily in this first frame. It is the first batch of matches here, live in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada. It's the 2024 BC Open Snooker Championship. David Burney's in the booth, accompanied by David Putty. I must admit, David, it's quite phenomenal how many Davids are involved in the game of snooker. Well, I got some suspicions. What's up there in that bulk area? Is that a D we see? Or we always talk about, putting the cue ball back in the D. I think so. So it just comes up when there's the break in the frame, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear Buddy at all.
Pardon?
Buddy's not on.
No.
No, it's, I don't know what's going on with the sound. Fuck, it's hot. Holy cow.
Okay. Hmm.
You're clear as a bell. I mean, perfect. Like, it's the best audio I've ever heard. However, he's completely not there.
Hmm. Okay.
And it's funny because he's meditating. It's coming up. I can see it in the meter.
Yeah.
And it's going out to B1, B2, which is here, which is what that's listening to. But it's just omitting that particular audio.
Hmm. Bizarre. All right. Well, have to think about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine last night.
I gotta go back in. Yeah, with these short sprint matches, best of three, always good to get that first frame on the board. Blair was telling me just before this match started, he's not one of the owners at the club in Prince George anymore, but happily he's been able to focus a lot more on his snooker game. So he's really put in a lot of hours, knows how important this tournament is. It's always a staple here. We always love seeing him come into the room full of joy, but definitely his eyes of determination. He wants to hoist that trophy on Sunday just like everyone else. Yes, I had the great fortune to have Anye in the booth with me at last year's U.S. Women's Open, and we got into a good discussion of that. When she's at the table, she's walking around and she's seeing, you know, 3, 4 shots in advance. But then when it comes down to taking the shot, that's the shot she's concerned with. She's not wanting to think about what the next shot is. So good to have a plan, but when you get down, execute the shot in front of you. You don't want to get ahead of yourself, or most often than not, that leads to a missed pot.
The other thing, of course, is that you don't always get exactly where you plan to be. So you end up having to revamp the plan after every shot to some degree. There are very few players on, Ronnie O'Sullivan and some of the top pros that can control the cue ball precisely to exactly where they want. But amateur players and even mid-range pros are having to redo their plan pretty much after every shot just to make sure that they're where they want to be.
Yes, excellent point, David. I do remember hearing an interview with Ronnie O'Sullivan. Usually he's taking shots when he goes and hits a color in. He wants his world to have a choice of reds. Doesn't want to be forced into just one red. Obviously, if there's only one red on the table, that theory is wrong. But it's nice to have options. But then when you are committed to the shot, it's all in.
There's a nice spot. Those shots into the side are tricky at times. You're shooting into half a pocket from that angle. So to make them in that smoothly, that's a nice shot on Dennis's part. He's in a good position again. He hit that ball a little thin, so the cue ball was gone further down the table than he was hoping for. He's left a possible combination here for Blair.
Well, I think that black ball has come to his rescue there. So it looks like it's blocking the path for that open red on the right side of the table.
So his target here will be to get the cue ball behind the yellow and green. A nice thin hit off this red. Right idea. Just speed of the table was, or he didn't quite hit that hard enough for the speed of the table.
Yes, it's a nice little kind of pseudo wall there with the green and yellow up in the bulk area. A good landing area to get behind to play a telling safety.
And the way the balls are now, whoever does get that telling snooker or safety and force their opponent into a weaker return may have the opportunity. The pink and black are open, the blue's open. So there could be a 30 or 40 point run still on the table for them. Currently, there's 67 points left on the table. It's one way to make it.
And a raise of a hand, you'll see that a lot in the game of snooker. The flukes are allowed, but most players do raise their hand. But not if you're Cliff Wilson. Cliff Wilson was notorious for laughing in the face of an opponent whenever he got a fluke.
So the situation Dennis is in here is he's shooting over top. The pink would be the better shot if he wasn't directly over top of that red. So a very well played safety there. The blue's in the way of the two reds on the right. Yellow's in the way of the two reds to the left. And Blair's in a tight situation. He might be able to see part of that last red on the right-hand side. It's a great situation of playing what the table gives you. Dennis didn't like the shot that he had on the pink, so better to take what the table gives you, which is this containment shot.
That might be trouble there for Blair. It's left a pot onto the left middle.
There's
As
some danger in that if he takes it, but the reward is high.
Yes, as David alluded to a little earlier, those are no gimme shots into these side pockets. So he's going to have to give it care and attention.
I think he's taking option B here, which is again the cue ball down to the bottom rail off this red.
Good morning to a friend of the community, Vineet Desani. Vineet, who will be playing in this tournament, will be scorekeeping some of this tournament. And mark my word, look out for the Desani boys. He's got two youngsters that just eat this game up with a fork and spoon. So we could have some youngsters that are going to come through in the coming years.
Ooh. Well, that's one fluke apiece. Now we'll see if a bit of a run can be put together here.
And it's nice if those flukes can balance out in kind of these short frame or short match formats. We see it more often in the longer matches, but sometimes we're against a battle of time. With these tournaments that we throw on, we can't be hosting best of 35s or best of 19 matches. And when you watch those, you watch the pros, you might see in one session one player has all the flukes, but then the following session the next player gets it. So good to see that the snooker guards aren't wavering to one player or the other.
Of course, when you're playing, it feels like the snooker gods are one-sided. The psychological part of it is that sometimes if you're in a negative mental space, you'll only remember the flukes or the accidental hooks that your opponent got, as opposed to actually seeing that it does typically balance out. This is such a psychological game when you're playing it.
Yeah, it's always a good trip to go to the aquarium and just hang out with the goldfish, because you got to have a memory of a goldfish in this game. Just easy to forget.
So Blair has just taken the lead with that previous color, and now he's in good position here to put that run together that will potentially close out this game.
Yeah, as you can see, he's on the right side of the blue. And when we allude to the right side of the blue, ooh, it's a bit unfortunate. When we talk about the right side of the blue, it's just the natural angle will take him back down to the business end of the table, but that's gone definitely wrong. A frame winning chance.
I suspect he can hit this. I just don't know that he can get around the pink enough to make it. this all comes down to the choices that you make on the table. If we were to rewind that just a bit, he might have been better to roll that cue ball through because then the pink would never have been even possibly in the way. Instead, he tried to play it to the left corner instead of the right corner. Less danger having gone the other way than the way he did. But he does have the lead, so
Yeah, we'll have to see how Dennis can take his chance here. Right into the right side. Or it looks like he might be going for the green pocket.
wanna yeah.
Looks like he's got the
Another wave
snooker.
of the hand. He has him solidly snookered again. Every time I see the referee walk by, I am reminded of our old friend Gordon Mawhinney, who was a older gentleman with a long white beard and long hair, who had unfortunately passed away 6 months to a year ago. But he was a great friend of the game for many, many, many years.
True. Going back to that 2016 Richler Cup in Montreal, I still remember maybe back in the broadcast booth and could see the action on our monitors but couldn't see the table live. And we didn't have scorekeepers at that time, only Gord
Right.
coming back to the commentating booth every so often with a
Pieces of
post-it note.
pieces of paper saying, "Here it is now." Yeah.
Also on that note, David, do you see Joel McDonald much?
I run into Joe every once in a while. He's at some of the tournaments from time to time, not playing that much anymore. Joe was always a great competitor on the table, but never, what's the word I would look for? Never aggressive, never challenging. He was just there to, he is there just to have fun and play, and very knowledgeable about the game as well.
And a
So
great wingman to boot.
I never used him as a wingman, Dave.
Oh, got lucky. Oh, just stayed out.
Ooh,
So now, as we see so many times in the amateur game, it all comes down to the colors.
hmm.
Pretty good mantra to have, maybe for all the new players. Just get me to the colors, give me a chance, because that's one of the big practice exercises that these men and women do at the table is just running the colors hours and hours.
You notice that the referee is positioned very strategically here because he needs to really watch the pink ball and the waistcoat in this shot. That pink is very much in the way of a comfortable stance. Obviously, no foul was committed there, but you do have to be careful when there's a ball underneath your body or your arm or something like that, that you don't touch it. So at this point in the match, Blair will need the yellow to the blue to win. And if Dennis was to run the balls, he would need yellow to pink to win. But neither of them at this point would need to run all the colors to get over the line.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that pink plays out because it's definitely an easy pot, but it's definitely a threat of a in-off if one of these players is to hit their object ball and then cannon into the pink and drop it into the pocket. That unfortunately is a 6-point foul.
But that also becomes a great position for safety if required. All you have to do is hit the object ball so that the pink ball is in the way for any kind of potting. Sometimes you see those frames go very, very long because they'll get the lesser ball very close to that pocket and it becomes a little bit of tic-tac-toe. This is a good opportunity here to finish this off for Dennis.
Yes, it'd be quite a
He ended
steal.
up with a he ended up with a good angle on that brown to hold for blue there. So he's double checking the score there just to make sure.
And that pink goes in. Doesn't need the black. But just going to take it on. Dennis Lysenko taking this first frame to lead this short match 1-0. And we'll be right back with frame 2. And welcome back to the 2024 BC Open Snooker Championship. It's the early stages of the round robin of this great event. We're going to be here all weekend long. It's David Burney in the booth, accompanied by David Putty. And I know David Putty's quite an avid statistician. Do we have any stats that you can report, David, from that first frame?
No, because I haven't been able to get my software running properly. I'm working on it in between frames, but I'm not there yet, unfortunately. I
Tech.
hope to have it by round two or frame two, hopefully even better.
Good to hear. Yeah, there's always sometimes some glitches here and there. Hopefully, Dennis is just excuse himself for a quick comfort break. Could have a shocker over at the Star Club. I just seen that Dave Daly has taken the first frame over Ross Bradson. So Dave, originally from Ireland, makes his home in the Seattle area. Was talking to me that he was in the group of death. He's always saying that I'm putting him in the
Yeah.
hard group, and it's completely random. All the names go into the computer. You have to fight the computer, not fight me. I'm just a human. I make mistakes. Computers don't. And do let us know, and everyone that's tuning in. Hopefully everything sounds all right. Hope the picture is good. If there's any hiccups, you know, but do check your streaming connection sometimes. It's looking and sounding good on our end, but sometimes we can't see everything. But we're happy that you're tuning in.
Hmm. I'm quiet here for a moment as I try and get my stats up and running, but it doesn't want to quite.
Well, I don't need no stats
So I'm going
chart
to put
there.
it
That's
down
a
and pay attention. We'll get it for the next time.
yeah. Didn't need any stats chart on that. That was a great safety there by Dennis.
Hmm. Looks like he may have left that one into the right corner.
Yeah, black open to. If it goes, black will be open to both quarter
Mm.
pockets. So one brave shot here, and Dennis could be off and running. We've got a result. CCU has beaten Chris Lee.
David, you've played on these tables. How tight are the pockets, and are they challenging tournament pockets or fairly loose club tournament or club pockets?
You know what? I have not played on these tables. I have been
Ah,
too
okay.
busy running tournaments and have not had the chance. Obviously, I live up in Vancouver, which is a just a step over the river pretty much here in Richmond. And where I live, there's a servicemen's club, Army, Navy, Air Force servicemen's place that has a couple snooker tables there. I've been actively involved as being on the executive there, so I've continued to make it a thriving snooker hub, and that's usually where I play.
Okay.
Us snooker players like to go where it's convenient to play sometimes, and the table rates aren't too bad, and a lot of things have changed in that room, that's for sure. I think when I started coming in and playing, I was the only one there that would be knocking balls from like 8 to 10 at night. And now you almost have to sign up, put your name on the chalkboard to get some table time. So it's great to see. I think a lot of people are, as we've said, are getting into this game or revisiting the game from a lengthy absence.
With that in mind, there's a pool hall that I go and play in Kitchener, and it opens at noon. And if you're not standing, it's in the basement of a mall. And if you're not standing at the entryway door by about 11 or quarter after 11 in the morning, all the tables are taken. There's
Wow, that
a group of seniors that come in, there are a few young people that come in, and you just don't get a table till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you're not there by at least 11:30. It's amazing. It's um, the rebound in the game from a number of years ago.
kind of weird follow through there on Blair. Yeah, the
Hmm.
that's Frederick Mall, right?
That's right.
That
Yep.
club and the old Tri-City place of Kitchener, Kitchener
In
Waterloo.
Kitchener Waterloo. Yeah. Yeah.
A good spot for Oktoberfest, I hear.
Absolutely. When I used to live in Kitchener, we left Kitchener when Oktoberfest happened because it got crazy. It was we would take our holidays away from Kitchener during that time. But
Yeah,
that pool hall Fredericks has been there for many, many, many years. I
yeah,
was there yesterday and it was packed from, I got there about 2 and it was packed still when I left at 7:30, 8 o'clock. There's a nice shot off the rail. Made to look relatively easy, but it's when you're shooting off the rail from that distance, it's a nice shot to make it that clean.
yeah. Our friend Vineet Dasani chiming in on the chat, who plays here quite a lot. He's describing that these pockets are pretty tight, and I have heard a lot of players they say it runs nicely, but they're pretty tricky. These Rasson tables that Jonathan Sun, the owner and operator here of Top 147, just recently installed this year. Our good friend Simon Barker came all the way from England. If you got a table and you need it set up and you got the money, there's no one better to call than Simon Barker.
So then this wouldn't be the table that I when you brought Ricky Walden over last year. This wouldn't be the table that I played on.
That is correct.
Okay.
Jonathan has two Schlenders. Is that the correct Schlenders?
Shenders. Shender.
Schenders. Thank you.
Yes.
He has two of those tables. One is still operational, but he took one down to make room for the Rasson, and hopefully, we're all fingers are crossed here. As a tournament director, all my fingers and toes are crossed that he can set up that next or that other table just so we can have 8 tables in the room because that just makes the tournaments go that much easier.
Hmm.
You can have all your matches starting at the same time for a 16-player tournament. But I believe at Corner Bank they have a lot of Shenders
They
in
have
Toronto.
eight Shenders. Yeah. Yeah, that club is close to 30,000 square feet, something like that. And they run a lot of leagues and tournaments and money matches and all of that there as well. It's certainly the largest club that I'm aware of in Canada.
Yes, last in 2022 they were the host of the PAPSA Open and PAPSA Senior Championship. So good to see their club getting on the map. As I've done some business with PAPSA, President Ajaya Pradhakar has let me know that if you have a room, feel free to write a pitch to PAPSA, and maybe you can be hosting the championship. Because myself and fellow friend and player here, Charlie Brown, we had some decent fun in Rio back in October. Although people were surprised that I didn't have a suntan. Well, you can't get a suntan in a commentating booth, and it was a lot of work down there in Rio, but lots of fun.
And it's just made another really nice red in the right top pocket and ended up in a tough spot again. But his intent is obviously to tie Blair up here, not let him in. Because again, Blair is shooting off of the bottom rail. Dave, you might remember a fellow by the name of Danny Glumachich. Danny was or is a good amateur player here in Ontario. And his theory was if anyone could beat him by shooting off the bottom rail, they deserve to win. Because Danny would glue you to the bottom rail every available opportunity. And that's kind of what I'm seeing Dennis doing to Blair here.
Yeah, that shows a good knowledge of the game. You think maybe Dennis, with his youthful age, really wants to slam a lot of balls into the bottom of the pocket and be maybe more aggressive, but He knows to take his points and run away if he hasn't got anything. Doesn't want to force an opportunity. Snooker is a game, not always what you make, it's really more important of what you leave.
In the old days, we called that hit and run. Take what you could and then get away.
Sounds like some of these players' driving records.
Yeah. Dennis is potting the ball better than Blair, but he consistently is leaving himself fairly tight to the rails, which causes that kind of miss. It's very hard to control your shot when you're on the rail all the time.
Yeah, not, the cue ball doesn't have a lot of area to be strucken, and so usually you're cueing down on that cue ball, and there's always a chance of putting unwanted side on it.
Which then creates masse. So he doesn't want this to go in.
But I,
Unless he can, no, I can't see it.
but I believe David Putty does have a trick for those shots that are against the cushion, don't you? I think you've informed me of something, but I'll give you the honors of letting the audience know the secret method.
The basic, it's easier to demonstrate it, but the basic thing is that you have to lean into the rail with your bridge. You can't have the weight in the back of your heels because then your body is unsteady. Raise the back end of your cue, and then there's a bit of a tweak in the wrist, torquing the wrist just a bit to make it a more solid hit so your cue doesn't bounce off the ball, but hits through like it would normally on the table if you weren't frozen on the rail. And then follow through and all of that you have to do with every shot as well. But yeah, it's something that I work on when I'm playing now. Is it, and it makes a difference. It makes a significant difference. So here he's trying to masse. Oh, look out. Nope. So relatively easy shot for Blair to get in here. We'll just see how he positions himself. Don't know if he can see the one in the corner, but the one over the side is definitely the easier starting shot.
Oh, he tried to get that black out of that nestle of
He
cherries
did. He
around there.
played the breakout.
Still has a brown into the left middle, and I think this red will pass the pink into the right middle.
Shot. He might come up for a blue on this one. He has an angle. If you brought the cue ball about 3 or 4 inches more forward, he would have the pink. He might come up to the blue on this. It's hard to tell from TV angle to see what the fine angles are, but
Yes, definitely. The best angle that you can get is actually being at the table and being down on the shot like these players have. But I must admit, I don't think I've ever missed a shot in the commentary booth.
I have the same record.
Who said that's a tough game?
These are not always easy shots to control when the ball is this deep in the pocket.
So, David, are you thinking try and break out that black because you have the saving grace of a blue?
He might have been thinking that, but again, it's difficult when the ball's that deep in the pocket, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's setting himself up for a tricky red into the left middle. Yeah, results are coming in all over the tournament, so make sure you check out the challengesite.com/2024 BC Open Group Stage. And about in the afternoon tomorrow, about 4 p.m. Pacific time, is when we're going to be kicking off the knockout phase of this tournament. So there will be 12 players that will be joining Dalton Roy, Duncan Banks, Merhan Manashkar, and Alvin Chan, as they have won qualifiers here in the Lower Mainland to book their spot into the knockout round.
He's taking this shot on, I think. A bit of a wild attempt there. He's missed by a fair amount, which means he lost control of the cue ball. That cue ball was meant to come further down table.
Yeah, fortunately enough, he hasn't left a really easy starter for
No.
Blair.
The yellow and the brown are a pretty tempting target for cue ball right now. One thing I'm noticing with Blair is particularly on the long shots, his arm is coming out to like the back end of his cue is coming out to the right, which causes problems. Like he's hitting those balls thicker than I think he wants to. His cue isn't coming through quite as straight as he would like. causing some inconsistencies.
Wow, great shot there by Dennis. Yeah, it's all about the consistency. As I think you and I, David, back in 2022 at Cornerbank for that PAPSA event, we were just amazed by, I think, Amir Saeed, who was in the final
Yes.
against Ahmad Ali. It was just clockwork. His pre-shot routine, his feathering, it was similar for every shot he played.
Hmm. Sometimes referred to as like a McDonald's franchise. If you do the same thing every time, then you have a much higher expectation of consistency, and um, and not only that, but then you know what you've done wrong when you miss. There's
Hmm.
clarity as to I know what I did wrong and I can fix that instead of getting mad and frustrated as to not knowing why you missed the ball. And then the psychology comes into it as well. So
This could be a good chance here for Dennis to score heavily.
I would almost be taking the top red there, the one away furthest away from the rail, but he's taking the other one. The reason I might have gone the other way is that that red is blocking the right-hand pocket when he makes the black ball. He's going to be restricted to one pocket. And now that pocket is blocked when he makes this simple red to the left pocket. A little more cue ball movement needed. I do notice that Dennis particularly stays fairly still on his shots,
True, there can only be one Alex Higgins. I don't know
except for
many.
that one.
I don't know many people that are wiggling and waggling all over the shot, twitching and turning. But love him or loathe him, I think Alex Higgins did quite a great thing for this game. That's for sure. He brought some flair to it, brought it out of the
Mm.
back rooms and into the forefront, and probably was instrumental in the big boom of snooker back in the 1980s. A time when Canada as well was thriving in the game of snooker. Had
Mm.
a lot of players over there. Obviously, the 1980 world champion Cliff Thorburn, the man in white Kirk Stevens, putting together a beautiful 147 at the Masters. Big Bill, who would probably drink anybody under the table. And other great players like Jim White and Bernie Mickelson and Brady Golan and Alain Rabideau, the last player to hold a tour card coming from Canada. So hopefully we can change that in the years to come. I think with the advantages of the internet, now more people are able to find live snooker a little bit more easily and know what the game is about.
I remember being in my mid 20s back in the early 1980s and playing a lot back then. And I think in a period of about 10 years, we probably had eight, and you name most of them, eight professionals over there on the world tour, on the professional tour at that time. And there was never a second generation that followed in their footsteps. It There wasn't that next young player to keep the fire burning, and so it kind of faded at that point.
And I
The other big
know,
the other big thing that I remember back in those days too is that it was all the cigarette companies that were sponsoring all the tournaments. And when that sponsorship money dried up, there was a lot of the money disappeared from the tour as well. But even the professional tour back then only had 8 or 10 events per year. So there were a lot of drywallers and taxi drivers and hustlers that were on the tour at that point in time because you couldn't really make a living being a professional snooker player.
yeah, I think our fellow Canadian Kirk Stevens has talked about how tough it can be sometimes. Obviously, he's had his troubles. We won't get into that too much. But just with the lack of tournaments that were over in the UK, you'd have to do exhibitions up and down the country. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
tough gambit, that's for sure. Obviously, as well, leaving Canada and going over to Britain, not too much of a change because we're both in the Commonwealth. Obviously, you got a feel for the Chinese players that are playing now, but they're doing quite well as it's such a different change from Mandarin to English. But it is a sacrifice. But things are growing. As I was just recently in San Jose for the Q Tour Stop event number 2, and that's good to see that there are events coming up in the Americas where North American and South American players can qualify for the final qualifying tournament to get the potential of being a professional. Whereas in the past,
Very
oh, very nice.
Oh, just missed them. Sorry.
In the past you'd have to put all your eggs in one basket. You have to make your way over to England, and they play in a qualifying tournament. And there's no money in the qualifying tournament. It's just for the opportunity to qualify and get that pro card. And then when you get on tour, you gotta win matches to win money. So it's like any sport. It's tough.
Now there's a nice shot. Didn't quite get behind the yellow, but great effort. So you can see Blair mark the rail where he wants that ball to end up. Going back to these. This will be tough from this angle, but great effort. As I mentioned earlier, the players are getting much more accustomed to the speed of the table. And you'll notice now their safeties are ending up much closer to that bottom rail. So they're reading the table well. Commentators curse.
And this is an open championship, so open to anyone that can pick up a cue and get their entry fee in. As we've got some friends coming up from the Seattle area, always good to see them. And as well, some friends have traveled over the Rocky Mountains coming in all the way from Alberta. Hopefully, as we can continue expanding, we can get some friends from Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And maybe a bunch of you guys from Ontario. David, round up the crew out there.
Road trip.
Correct. I think, as we kind of got to see it right now, some of these players kind of got to look at it as a vacation as well. And maybe it could be a vacation that pays for itself, or maybe it doesn't. But hey, I've never seen Saskatchewan. If you're listening out there, I'd love to go out there and commentate. It would be good fun. Who knew that I'd be sitting in Rio de Janeiro commentating on snooker when I was back in grade 3 when snooker came on TSN and mimicking John Pullman to just wind up my classmates on the playgrounds. Strange where world goes.
Somehow I can hear you doing that. Well, this is a good opportunity here for Blair. Reds are loose, they're open. There isn't really a tough red on the table now.
Yeah, not saying that there's any easy group, but definitely this is Group A, and having Blair Major has gone deep. Dennis Lysenko, as we see, definitely knows his way around, and the other two players in the group are Gordon Wu and Peter Singh. So it's going to be tough. Unfortunately, three players are going to go home, and one's going to move on. So that's why I think Blair really wants to fight back and force a decider, because losing your first match is going to be tough.
Score is even now, so it's anyone who can put a run together here. The other piece of this too is to be able to get into some flow where you just see the spot on the ball you need to hit, you trust your stroke, trust all the work and training you've done along the way, and just have that backhand relax, not have it be too tight, and just get into flow and stroke the balls in. Much easier said than done, especially in pressure situations.
Yeah, just want to be a conductor there with your cue stick. Orchestrate the reds as your brass section and your colors as your violas, and make a beautiful symphony.
So what you saw Blair do there is plan 3 shots ahead. He wants this white ball to go past the middle of the table, which it has. He now is below the blue, so he can bring this cue ball up to anywhere he wants for the continuation of the run. He's going to pull it back for the one by the pink. Again, positioning where he wants the cue ball so that he can get not only the black, but be in a good position to get to the following red as well. Maybe a change of plan here and planning to play the pink in the side.
Well, that break of 19 comes to an end, but he's got a 14-point advantage, but still 51 points on the table. So no clear winner of this frame just yet. And as the day progresses, this room will open up. So we'll see how the players contend with the public coming in. Obviously, there is signage that they have been informed that a tournament is on. But sometimes, hopefully, players can just make that sure that that's white noise in the background and just tune it out and get down to the business at the table.
One of the big things in that, Dave, is when you're not at the table, is to not be distracted by what's going on around the room or even on the table beside you, but just to have your full focus on exactly what's going on the table you're playing on. You get to see if the table has a roll, you get to see the speed of the table or how the table is developing for you. But you'll see players kind of being aware of what's going, who's winning on the next table and things like that. And that is not helpful in the concentration and focus that's required to win this game.
Tunnel vision, would you say, David?
Yeah, yep. Your eyes are only on the table you're playing on. You can
Guess
only
that.
assume that red by the black doesn't go in the left corner. Well,
No save by the blue there.
nope. Bit of a tough double kiss there to create this opportunity for Dennis, but when you're playing those safeties, you have to know what's possible and what may or may not happen. Be a nice shot if he has the confidence to play that blue, because he will come up for shape. When you hit the ball that hard, you tend to lose any control of what's going to happen. Your arm moves differently, your body moves. It's not a control situation.
Everyone in Prince George thought that ball was in. Blair's staring it down, hoping to will it in, but yeah, it just didn't go. Yeah, Gordon Wu is in the building. Interesting to see that obviously a few weeks ago he was cheering Dennis on as he was a teammate in the BC Team Championship. Now they're in the same group, so they're bitter enemies. And we got a good one coming up after this match. We've got Aaron Singh going against Karim Gill. That should be an exciting match. Two young players really can, once they get in the groove, they can put some substantial breaks there. But that will be their first match, so we'll see how that fares. But that's going to come up after this match comes to conclusion. We could still have another frame after this one. Dennis obviously doesn't want that to happen. Wants to whitewash Blair.
Take a look to see if he can do a very, very fine cut on this ball. You have to play this almost to miss it. Yep. He's lining it up for the side pocket. Would have been a nice one for him to make because he doesn't have to travel far. Wouldn't have had to travel far for yellow shape off pink. But
Yes, how many more twists and turns will we have in the second frame?
so Blair now needs to make the green to win the frame. 2 balls away from the frame from Dennis requiring snookers. Nicely done. You
Yeah,
don't want to
Blair.
be stretching that far on frame ball. So he's getting his extension. Nicely done.
Yeah, there's no real safe ball, so Blair didn't want to give Dennis another chance to get back in. Knows that he's a excellent potter.
Well, that will extend the game, the frame for a few minutes anyway. Blair is up 24 with 22 points left on the table. So one successful snooker and Dennis is back in the frame. Looks like cue ball coming this way. Just a little too hard. Sometimes in this situation, you'll see players just roll the ball to the pocket. And then if they make it, great. If they don't, the ball is sitting right in the jaws of the pocket and very hard not to make the ball. So it would remove 1 ball off the table for snookering purposes.
Maybe the only saving grace is if it's a straight on shot here. It's always tricky. You don't want to follow your object ball into the pocket.
Mm-hmm. That's, that was closer to that corner than he wanted it, but he hit it well. We'll probably see a concession here.
And there's the concession there. So Blair Major takes that second frame, 54 to 26. And we will step aside for a quick moment and come back to this deciding frame of this round robin match.
All right.
And welcome back, everybody, to this deciding frame between Blair Major and Denis Lysenko.
It's been a good close match. Nobody's been running away with it. There's been a few opportunities given on both sides, and opportunities squandered a bit sometimes. And there's a 4 point spot for Blair. That happens sometimes in the break when you hit the ball a little thinner than you want.
Yeah, let's see if Blair can get the party started. Take on a long red. Black is wide open. I don't know, can we get some Trans-Canada funds sent from Ontario, Mr. Putty? If there's a maximum, are you willing to
Sorry, I
donate?
missed that, David. What was that?
Are you willing to donate some funds for a maxi?
We could do that. I think you and I would put up a $50 piece bonus for 100 for a maxi.
Well, I've already got Bernie's best out there, $100 for the first player to make a century.
Ah, okay. I'm probably fairly safe putting up $100 for a max, but check with my accountant first. No, it can be done.
Sure, I think the tournaments of yesteryear, I was saying that anyone that makes a century, they get $100. But now that the standard is slowly increasing over here, I've kind of pared it down to the first player to make a century. Can't go to the poorhouse just yet.
That's right. That's a very nice result on that shot. He left the cue ball exactly on the line that he wanted to leave it. One rail into the side of the pack. Those snookers are not very hard to get out of because you've got 4 or 5 reds lined up there to be able to hit. But the trick is to hit them in such a way that you don't leave a shot, which he's done pretty well. Blair's trying to put the cue ball exactly back where it was before. That one too thin.
Yeah, those are always scary shots because there's always a threat of the in-off into that top
Yeah.
right corner. Can Dennis capitalize on the mistake?
So we require a fairly good shot on the first red here to get position on the black. Depending on the angle, he'll go through and come high on the black or draw it back. Yeah. Whenever I'm playing in a match, the words in my head are, this would certainly look like an opportunity. See if he can put a few together.
The curse of the color commentator strikes again. got two venues this year at the 2024 BC Open Snooker Championship. You're watching the action live here at Top 147 Snooker and Billiards Lounge. If you're in the area, feel free to come and say hello to us. Admission is free to watch all the great snooker action, and as well, our friends over at the Star Snooker Club are helping us out, make sure the tournament is a success. And they're over on Alexander Street. Feel free to Google their address, as admission is free over there. There's just a more tighter space. It's more of an academy kind of feel, whereas at Top 147 it does have also the pool tables and Chinese 8-ball tables, so it's probably going to get a little busy as the day progresses.
Or you can come to my basement and watch it on my big screen TV in Brantford.
There you
After
go.
I have all the equipment set up under or on top of a table cover on my snooker table in the basement here, so I can't even hit balls in between matches. I will say that Dennis is making some nice entry first red pots. And that's pretty key in these games, is being able to get in. So he's making mid-range, middle distance pots to get in. Now he just needs to settle in and get good position and get easy position for easy shots. The red in front of that black doesn't help what runs together for a little while here. One of them will have to disturb that.
Yeah, a lot of these matches are really like almost like boxing matches, just sparring back and forth. No one's really taking a big like knockout combination, draining lots of
Mm.
reds with colors. It's the difference between the pro and amateur game. Well, many differences. Obviously, pros do it for the paycheck and amateurs do it for the love. But the professionals, we're not expecting them to miss. So when they miss, it's quite a shock. And the amateur game, sometimes we don't expect them to make high runs. So we're cheerleaders just as much when they start accumulating a lot of points.
Well, you and I can both speak to that too, as we've been at the World Championships and I've been at the Masters. And I remember traveling over to England, and I was really excited about watching Ronnie O'Sullivan play in the Masters in 2018. And he lost 6-1. And the thought in my head was, come on, Ronnie, I've traveled all this way, right? You can't not make a ball. And he just had an off day and he was missing balls that he would normally never miss. I think it was Mark Allen took advantage of it and won 6-1. But yeah, at the pro level, you are always surprised when they miss what would be a 90-95% shot for them. They finish matches with pot success of 90 to 95, 96, 97. That's what it takes to win at that level.
As our good friend from America, Ahmad Ali, is figuring out quite quickly, he might have been a big fish in a small pond over here in North America, but the pond of talent is so vast in the UK, as it is pretty UK based. Even the professional pundits and people behind the scenes there will agree that they do need to expand if they are the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association. But yeah, that was good fun at that 2018 Masters. I remember being over there, and
Hey, there's a
actually,
whole group of Canadians that went over for that.
Yeah, 18 of us. I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got there a little early because I wanted to see last year's world champion Luca Bissell play in a match, and he played Mark Allen. It was a tale of two Qs for Bissell in that tournament. Unfortunately, Allen was to defeat him. And then a couple days later, it was over around the afternoon, just hanging out at the Alley Pally. And I think a friend actually, you know, bought me a ticket for the Marco Fu Ronnie O'Sullivan match. So that was the first time I was able to see Ronnie in the flesh, and he dispatched of a man that has linkage here actually to Vancouver, Marco
Hmm.
Fu, taught by the great Tommy Lee. And Ronnie whitewashed him. And then a few days later, as David O was alluding to that match that Ronnie lost to Mark Allen, I was sitting at a pub waiting for some fellow Canadians to arrive from BC. They got off the tube, met me at the pub, and I just told them that Mark Allen had beat Ronnie O'Sullivan. They pretty much called their travel agent and booked a ticket home.
I felt like doing that. Yeah.
A few of them did, but there was a feast for an eyes anyway. I must admit, if Darcy Weston's out there, he used to live out here. He now lives in, I believe, the Kingston area. But Darcy and we went into a match when there was a bunch of us Canadians watching, and it was Judd Trump and Kyron Wilson. And Darcy and I put a nice little $5 Canadian bet on the match. I took Wilson, he took Trump, and I remember Judd being up 5-2, and Darcy was already licking his lips, ready for that nice $5 pint. But oh no, Wilson fought back and won at 6-5, and I'd say that was the funnest $5 I've ever won.
I don't know if you remember the combination that Trump took on when he was up 5-2. And it was,
So,
I would say, at best, about a 10% chance of going. And it was on that particular shot that the his flow changed, his his confidence on the table changed dramatically at that point, and that's when Kyron came back. I also remember watching Kyron Wilson. I was sitting in the right front row for I want to say it's the semifinal, maybe the quarterfinal, and I watched Kyron play. And you and I talked a little bit earlier here about um, every shot is the same, the approach, the pre-shot routine. I watched Kyron for 10 frames have exactly the same pre-shot routine, never faltered. It was absolutely amazing. So it's interesting watching, the top Canadian players like this, where things aren't quite that. I mean, you can see them making efforts. Like that's again a great entry shot by Dennis. He played position absolutely perfectly. So in a deciding frame, this is a key moment. In England, of course, you'd expect him to run the table pretty much. Here at the amateur level, we'll see how he does. Pink obviously doesn't go into the left corner pocket. So either the draw it back for the pink or move forward for the blue on this one.
such a difficult game. There's always two parts to every shot. Getting the pocket in and then getting shape on your next. It was
Yeah.
beautiful on the pink, but unfortunately the red did not drop.
And sometimes you end up compromising the pot for the position. And when you do that, you open yourself up to this kind of problem, especially when you're playing position on a color. So if you're playing a color, sorry, if you're playing a color for position on the red and you miss the color, now you've left great position for your opponent on the next red. So different than that situation, but obviously these balls are opened up and whoever gets in flow first will have some success.
Yeah, black's pretty tied up, but Blair can get that red by the pink just to the left side, get that down, then that's going to clear up the pink to a lot more pockets.
This is a nice positive play. That willingness to take on the blue. If he had followed the up the table with the cue ball on that one, he might have even had a better chance of making it. And good safety weight on the cue ball. A little careless on position on that one. He'll probably play safe on this. Might take the yellow one.
Ooh, that might be the opening that Dennis needs. Actually, black and pink are relatively safe, so it's going to be a blue ball affair.
Yeah, the only ball is the blue ball, isn't it? Blue and green, really. Maybe brown, but tough way to run a few points. This has to wait here for that other player to play their shot. Nicely done. That black onto the red doesn't really look like it goes into the corner. Looks like it goes to the side rail, so it's going to be tied up for a little while still. Ooh, you missed him. It's a good try.
Yeah, we might be here for a bit.
Dennis is definitely willing to take a few points and run and hide. And he's built up a bit of a lead. And in a game where nobody's really putting too many points up on the board, a 14-point lead may be pretty handy. He's confident enough to hit this with a touch of left-hand sliding. He may be able to get out of there. Nicely done. Bit of a cross-bank safety here. Possibly targeting yellow and brown here. Just a little light again.
Yeah, you might have wanted to expected that in the early stages of the match, but they've had time to get adjusted to the table.
Mm-hmm.
But well, that's kind of
Ooh, good
opening things
attempt to
up.
get in there. Almost.
Makes it a bit awkward for Dennis as he's going to be queuing over that yellow ball.
So it certainly is hampering them on the stroke. Mhm. Nicely done. I think Dennis's safeties have been a little better than Blair's over this match.
least that's brought the blackout into the equation, so both players will like that.
Nice, taking the positive shot here. I believe he's going for this. Yep, nicely done.
It's always nice to fill you up with some confidence.
Well,
Adrenaline
the
might
thing
be.
with that shot, David, is that he knew that he would be leaving a whole lot of opportunity for his opponent if he missed it. But he played it with confidence and it went straight in the pocket. That attitude is so important when you're down over a shot. Hmm.
Flirted with disaster there.
But what's the saying? It wiped its feet and came in the side door.
That's some Irish limerick that someone has said, I think, over there
Something
in the
like that.
UK. But an avid member of the sock game, Ken Daugherty, 1997 World Championship. Nice to see that he won the 900 recently at Goths,
Mm-hmm.
a place that is near and dear to his heart. As a youngster, he remembered being an usher and was always on the run to get Alex Higgins his special drink.
Yeah. One of many special drinks.
Mm-hmm.
That was a different day back then when they'd be drinking beer at the table when they weren't playing and even in the matches, smoking cigarettes.
True, there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on as there was a match that circulated on YouTube between Bill Werbeniuk and David Taylor. And one mystery has been solved as David Taylor was standing more at the business end of the table, as usually at the Crucible Theater the seats are seated up in the bulk end, and when they
Yep.
have the two tables set up, the players are right beside each other. And Bill, a strong smoker, and David just couldn't handle the smoking, so that's why he stood there. But if you look at this clip on YouTube, there's a very small table that's up against the wall just to the right of where the players are sitting, and no one knows why. So if anyone knows why, feel free to chime in. If you have any theories, if
What are the? I haven't heard that story. What are the theories about it?
you'll have to tune into our good friend Dave Hendon and his Snooker Scene podcast, as people have chimed in. I think we were able to find out the smoking issue because Darren Taylor, David's son, U.S. national champion of this year, wrote in and said that his father detested smoking, so that's why he stood away from
Mm.
Bill. But the little table, nobody knows.
Well, the 16 points that Dennis just made are going to become fairly important, even if Blair makes a couple of black balls here. Nice 22-point lead at this point. Four reds all up against that rail. It's going to be hard to build a run from there. So 22 points is pretty significant.
Does that lead give you the confidence maybe to take off this blind cut into the top left? Obviously, you're going to lose control of the cue ball.
I almost think this might be an opportunity for a bank. Control the cue ball off the top rail just for shape on the black in case you make it. Although It looks like he's finding the spot he wants on the bottom rail for the cue ball. Ooh,
That's a result. And a raise of a
that's
hand
as
to apologize.
that's as good as fluking a black ball. That one.
Yeah, player off table just having a little smile. It's not a smile of happiness, that's for sure.
Hmm.
So, referee Roy just taking a look at where the cue ball is, just in case it needs to be respotted.
It's actually one of the most important jobs for the referee or of any referee is to be able to place that ball exactly where it was before and any other balls that may have moved. Because what the players do when they're playing this is they know exactly where they're aiming on the rail. So if they do miss, they use that information to then change the point of contact to give themselves a better chance to hit the balls. So if the cue ball is being put in a different position, then their knowledge that they gained by missing the first time has gone to waste. So the referee's job is very important in this situation. I think he's looking at the best way to do this. 3 rails, possibly 4. Then you have 4 reds to hit on that side rail. It's coming. Okay. So now he will have made note of exactly where he hit that cue ball with exactly the amount of siding he used. And if you saw him point at the top rail, that's now his target because he came too sharp on the other one. So he'll be going slightly more to the right with the cue ball. Yep. And he's getting the referee to place it exactly where it was. This is another key point about the integrity of the players as well, is that he would not allow the referee to put it into a better position for him than it was to start with. So this hook has come at a very key point in the match. Dennis is now 37 points up. He got the red
Oh,
and ooh.
that's one way to get out of a snooker
Yep.
and be on the black so he can hopefully get back some of those penalty points he suffered.
Interesting to see how he plays this, whether he plays this aggressively for any shape or just makes the black ball.
Never want to hit that cushion before.
No.
Yeah, I like him going for that black, and then he'll still be at the table, and it's his option.
Yeah.
Do something crafty.
but you have to make the black. I would give Dennis's safety game positive marks. That's what's got him in the position he's in right now.
It is a feature that is growing on these broadcasts, the David Putty report card, and the safety is in A plus. Dennis, or am I being too generous?
A solid A. He hasn't made many mistakes. It's a good test of stroke if he chooses to go for this one. Oh, he likes his lead and he wants to keep it. Great attempt.
Yeah, he could have put Dennis in a world of trouble there. Just was maybe a little too pacey because he's got the ability to contact a red.
Dennis can see that middle red, then I think he can run the cue ball down the table. So the last red. And got lucky. That red doesn't go inside. Fortunate, not lucky. So what shot do you see here, David?
Hmm. Almost. Well, I'll get back to it after this shot. Almost on those two reds on the right side of the table. Maybe cutting the bottom one. Potential maybe cross double. You know, there might be a chance that the red goes to the
Yeah,
left side of the table, but with the cue ball coming down and hitting the top cushion, probably springing back up into the bulk area. There's a few little walls created in the bulk area there, so potential for
good
a player
good
to,
targets. Yeah.
yeah. He was online, just
Slightly
needed the
harder and it would
pace.
have been a great shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that cross double I was talking about, probably not a good idea there with that double kiss.
Yeah, he hit it very thin. If he hits it a bit thicker, that probably wouldn't have double kissed, but it's always a potential problem when you play those shots. So given Dennis's long to medium range potting so far, I like him on this one. It's a nice shot.
Yeah, when he's on, he's on. He's not letting the jaws of the pocket help him out. He's going straight in.
Yeah. And he's playing them with confidence. His expectation is that they're going in. He's not hesitating.
It's a real good opportunity to just pad his lead.
Mm-hmm.
But with
So he's 30, no, 27 up now. Sorry, 33. 33 up.
and 51 points on the table, so and a few hiding spots to go. Black now is kind of safe.
Pretty much red, any color red. And he's leaving Blair where he needs snookers.
The player's going to try and clip off this red that he's closest to and get near behind that black. Might need some help from the rest. An important tool in the game of snooker. I know a lot of pool players don't really like using the
No,
rest that much, but on these tables that are 6 feet by 12 feet, unless you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you're going to be needing to use that rest.
it's also one thing that players don't spend enough time practicing with because it comes up in games all the time. And if you're not comfortable using it, at least proficiently, if not extremely well, then now you get into this situation and you haven't practiced it to a point where you're comfortable.
And we are seeing more and more often now a lot more ambidextrous players. I've actually
Mm-hmm.
heard some players that when we had Nick Barrow over here last year it was, he brought over a couple of his cat, the Q Action trainer, and some players have told me that well they're kind of using it to train themselves to be left-handed if they're naturally right or vice versa, just so
Okay.
they can do that. And I mentioned that to Nick about that, what he thought about that. He's like, it's not a bad idea, but you're still going to use the rest at some point. You're never going to be rest free on the table. So, as much as it's a good idea to use his training device to practice your maybe non dominant hand, shall we say, but with a 6 foot by 12 foot table, that rest is going to come out at some point.
Ooh. When Nick was in Toronto, I spent some time with him and we did a day in Niagara Falls and we took the walk underneath the falls and took pictures on the platform with a snooker cue that his wife had brought as if we were playing a game on the platform. They're
Good
actually
to
quite
hear.
fun pictures to have.
Yeah, Nick
That was
Barrow.
a sloppy miss by Blair. He's, I suspect he's off his game. He's off his rhythm. He's distracted by what's happened on the table. Something. That was a real opportunity for him to do some catching up. And he missed a very much a sitter over the side pocket. Well,
Yeah, it's not too warm. We're, you know, the latter stages of winter out here in the Vancouver area, but Blair's sweating a little bit.
mm-hmm. Pink ball's sitting right over the green ball pocket.
And with those reds up at bulk end, it's tough to really make a lot of points for Blair.
And it looks like he has a decent angle either for the brown and then the red along the rail, or pink and the red down the right or down the left hand rail. One or the other. Either way, after this, he'll need one red to have Blair in a position of needing snookers. A little hard on that one. Would have liked to have been right on the rail.
Yeah, maybe just a little of adrenaline pumping through his veins,
Yeah.
seeing that this match is pretty close for him, but you can't get ahead of yourself. As Nietzsche said, you can't fly into flying. One must learn to walk before they can run.
This could be a relatively easy snooker to lay if Blair plays this. Just freezes it behind the brown.
Ran a bit too much. And I think
He
as much
just
as
let it slide just a little bit.
these
Almost. It was
players
right attempt.
as much as these players like to have that tunnel vision that you alluded to, they're probably aware that the video camera is there. They are on the TV table, so that might make them tense up a little bit. As they've had some opportunities, but no one's really flowed. There hasn't been many substantial breaks in this match.
I think the highest break is probably 16. Dennis made two blacks. Might have been a 19-point run. I think Blair had 19.
Well, I think the redwoods are going to be coming out for Blair.
Was that Reed that walked right in front of the shot there?
Might have been. Oh, no, he doesn't need the big sticks, Blair. Yes, Reed Unger, our roving referee. He'll be coming up on the TV table. Will be the referee for our next match between Karam Gill and Aaron Singh. A couple younger players in the scene.
Okay.
You know, Aaron's going to want to have a good campaign for this tournament, as news is happening that he's going to be moving to Fiji.
Ooh, you have to move somewhere. That's not a bad place to move.
Yeah, I think he says there's a club there that has a few three tables. And he's encouraging me to come for a visit. So
It's not
that's in the.
taking a lot of encouragement, I wouldn't think. Must be fairly straight in. Nicely done. You see how gentle he hit that ball and got that amount of draw off of it? It's a very nicely hit shot. Well, this would be a nice run out to steal this frame.
Be
Yeah,
absolutely
chance.
devastating to Dennis if Blair's to run the table here. Just waiting for the adjacent table to do their business.
He will absolutely have to run all the way to the black to do it. But the balls are sitting, after he gets past the yellow, the balls are sitting pretty well. Ooh,
We're allowed to get ahead of ourselves here in the broadcast booth, but not these
I guess
players.
so.
One
So much
shot at
for
a
running
time.
the table. So Dennis is taking a close look at the score. He knows he's up 27 points. So his worst case scenario would be double black at this point. Lets him freewheel a little bit, but we'll see if he's still thinking containment or yeah.
Very nicely done.
Yeah. Even if he is snookered on this green, it's still an easy hit off the bottom rail.
Yeah,
So now it's
I think he's got a
29
path.
with 25 points left on the table.
No, he hasn't got
Blair
the
will, of
snooker.
course, play on at this point. A couple of ways to get this cue ball behind the brown. That's one of them. Very, very nicely done. Now, in
Notch
this
by
situation, there'll be no foul and miss because the uh, point spread at this point in time. So Dennis just can't hit any of the other balls first because that would, or leave a free ball, which he has not done. Ooh. Okay.
So, as a result of the shot, it now is in a tie situation. So, with that, there is not the snookers required needed. So, referee Roy is putting the ball back to its original
Okay.
spot. You know, you can get those little small little black books that have all the rules in there for snooker, billiards, and the shootout. As well, you can download a PDF, I believe, online. Always a good thing to read up on the rules so you know everything going in, especially when the tournament directors and organizers send out emails with all the rules, because some of them have special ones, as we do here, that it's a maximum of 4 attempts, 3 putbacks, and if there's more than
This will
three
have a
snookers.
major impact.
So he's got one more attempt. Blair can put him back if he wants to. It's a great thing about this game of snooker. You're never out until you're out.
Hmm.
As Yogi Berra used to say, it ain't over till it's over.
Oh, quick run to the sort of bio break.
So yeah, this one's slagged a little bit, so it's kind of hiccup our schedule a little bit. Definitely at the conclusion of this match, we'll have a little 10-minute break, but hoping to get on Karam Gill and Aaron Singh onto the table as soon as possible. So stand by for that great match coming up. But it's day one of the 2024 BC Open Snooker Championship. We're here live at Top 147 Snooker and Billiards Lounge, located in Richmond, British Columbia. As well, our good friends at Star Snooker Club are helping us out, making sure the tournament's a success. Feel free to check out the Star Snooker Club's Facebook page, as they are going to be streaming some matches throughout the tournament. However, unfortunately, they will not have commentary to those, but you can tune in to their Facebook page to see if your favorite player is playing. As mentioned on the challenge site, challenge.com/2024, so that's 2024 BC Open group stage. That's where you find a list of all the matches. And when you see the matches, if you see star T3, that means it's the TV table. If you see 147 T2, that means it's the TV table. And now there's a bit of discussion going on. So they were just getting some clarification on that ruling, as Dennis was asking why he was put back. But the ruling states as that if there is a situation where a player is in a snooker and they've missed, and the result of the shot forces the tie that we saw, then it all is good. So, right, buddy? Go get those rules. I know you're a stickler for the rules.
Yeah. I'm going to stay neutral on that one for a minute.
Not trying to get your feet wet
Um,
on something. Is John Wallace watching?
not no, John wouldn't be watching yet. My understanding of the rule is different, but I will pull out my little book at the end of this match. The other thing is the decision, the way that would actually go now is that the decision was made by the referee on the table, so the decision stands as the referee has final say in any of those decisions. So it would be a moot discussion at this point in time as that decision has been made.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the referee's decision. Obviously, at the end of the tournament or at the end of the day, all things the players are told that they can express their concern and protest if they have anything and put it in writing. At the end of the day, you just got to make the shots that to win.
Yeah.
Um, Whether he's put back or not, you should have got out of that snooker. Players given an opportunity to get behind the brown here.
So it's an interesting decision at this point whether you bring the cue ball up towards the black, try and park it in between the rail and the black, or if you take the cue ball towards the brown. Okay, game on.
Yeah, it's just going to take one good shot for either of these players to win this match, but it's tense. Deciding frame. Well, it's an opportunity here for Dennis. It's a long pot for sure. Brown's going
Dennis
to be a
needs the
little
two
bit in.
balls, green and brown, to win. So a good positional shape or middle of the table even would do. Ugh.
Just a little unfortunate. Didn't get a good kiss on that brown. Oh, Dennis is looking for the redwoods. The big pieces of lumber coming out for this shot.
It's going to need another extension on that cue, I think.
So many tools needed to reach all corners of these 6 by 12 tables.
It's funny when you watch the old YouTube videos of old matches, is they didn't think to have all these extra pieces. Or they didn't have them at the time anyway.
Yeah, there's a trivia question for the crowd out there. Who was the person that thought,
Yeah,
at the butt of the queue, why don't we screw a hole in there and put in a female receiving screw piece that extensions can happen? You know, we know that Jack Carham, great commentator, developed the famous Dennis Taylor glasses.
that's now the more accepted way to play that shot, to come off the rail and keep the ball separate rather than hitting the ball on the way down the table. Oh, he's not going to like his next shot. Unless that pink ball complicates the shot, this is almost a certain snooker.
Now, 22 on the table and a 20-point difference. This can go back.
So at the end of the series of this shots, if he were to miss it, could only be a 4-point lead. I suspect you hit it though. That one doesn't change the impact of the brown very much, in that Dennis would still just have to make the brown to be in the upper position again, but missed it again. Now it's different.
Good hit.
Nice.
Tournament might be done before this match is finished. It's been a marathon to kick us off, that's for sure.
Well,
Dennis is not going to want to disturb that black, as Blair does need it.
Here's another very nice shot.
Yeah, Blair definitely making Dennis earn it. I think one of these two guys might be the head of this group. Haven't seen Peter or Gordon play, but as we said, it's all if someone can find some form, then things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Got a good angle on this brown to come back down for the blue. Blair just taking a look at the scoreboard, trailing by 12 points, 22 on the table.
So he knows he needs the black. Doesn't have to do much with the cue ball to get to the blue here. It's nicely done. So if he plays this ball in the side at speed, his cue ball, oh, he's going to play the bank. Okay.
Oh, Blair, Blair, Blair.
Oh my.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Well,
What?
if he was playing that in the side, he missed it by a fair mile, as they say.
So, Dennis for frame and match. There it is. Wow, what an exciting match
Wow.
to kick off this 2024
Interesting.
BC Open Championship. Dennis just looking at the score. They're looking at each other. Doesn't really need to take the black. I don't know why he just didn't put his cue down and shake hands. So Denis Lysenko has taken that match 2 frames to 1 over Blair Major. We'll step aside for 10 minutes just to get everything organized for Karam Gill and Aaron Singh. David Burney and David Putty will be right back, and we'll see you shortly, everyone.
Okay. Talk soon. Hello there. How are you? Good, good. Just a quick question. And I'm pretty sure I have it right. I'm 99% sure I have it right. 31 points down, 27 points on the table. Hook, the guy with the 31 points is snookered. That's what I thought. At So the fact that it's a tie at the result of the miss of the non-contact. Yeah, yes, that's what I figured. Then 27, you can redo it. Yes, that's what, okay, yeah. So I've got it right in my head. Just for interest's sake, BC Snooker Championship, I'm doing commentary on it. 31 points up, snooker applied, snooker's required, guy missed, and they put him back. Well, they did it. And in my commentary, I'm saying before, well, this is interesting because they can't put him back. I said that in commentary. And then they put him back. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay. That's what I figured. Yes. Yeah, yeah. That's what I figured. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Hello there, you've reached David Burney, and unfortunately